In this video, we're going to be creating a top-down RPG using content from the Unity Asset Store. Our goal for this video is to bring our enemy characters to life with AI. For this project, we'll be using Behavior Designer, a behavior tree creation tool by Opsiv. First, what is a behavior tree and how can it help us? A behavior tree is a type of AI used in video games. It allows us to create agents which switch between a finite set of tasks in a modular fashion. Behavior trees are commonly used in game development to craft complex AI. The power of this approach is that it allows us to create large collections of simple tasks and allow our agent to fluidly switch between them. Behavior trees are not just used in Unity or in video games. They're also used in computer science, control systems, and robotics. Behavior Designer is a graph-based tool for Unity, which allows us to design behavior trees in a visual way. Behavior trees can be created through a purely code-based approach, but the visual representation of the agent's logic in Behavior Designer helps us to easily visualize the behavior of our AI agent, allowing easy debugging and fast iteration. In our project, we're going to be using Behavior Designer to create a chasing and fleeing behavior for our enemy orc. Let's play our completed sample scene. As you can see, the player character comes into the field of view of an enemy orc, and the enemy begins to pursue the player. However, when the enemy orc sees a more formidable enemy than itself, in this case a dragon, the enemy orc decides to flee. Using Behavior Designer, we can quickly and easily design and debug this type of behavior. Let's see how. We've closed our completed scene, and here we have a version of our scene which is derived from one of the Opsiv tutorials. We've added our assets and placed it in our environment. Currently, when we play the scene, the player moves into view and the orc chases him. We're going to extend this. Once downloaded from the Asset Store, the Behavior Designer editor can be accessed from Tools, Behavior Designer, Editor. With the Behavior Designer window open, we'll select the enemy orc, and we can see the behavior tree associated with the enemy. Behavior tree logic flows up to down, left to right. If we press play, we can see this flow of logic in the green highlighting. Currently, if the enemy cannot see the player, it remains idle. Once the player comes into view, the Can See Object task returns true, which triggers the next task in the sequence, Seek. We want to take this further. We want the enemies to pursue the player, but flee if it sees something more formidable than itself. To do this, we can copy the existing branch of logic of seeing an object and seeking it out. Let's highlight the sequence branch and copy and paste it. We will place this new logic to the left of the existing logic. This means that this logic will be tested first. Then the graph will evaluate whether the enemy can see the player, and then whether the enemy is idle. Let's add these copied tasks to our tree by dragging from one task to the other. We are then going to select the Inspector tab of the Behavior Designer window and select Can See Object from our copied branch of logic to see which object will trigger the following seek action, which we will use to make the orc flee. We want this to be a whole lot scarier than the enemy character, as they are going to run away from it. Let's use the dragon. Select it as the target object in the Behavior Designer Inspector. That should do it. We will then create an empty transform as the target that we want the enemy to flee to once this seek task runs. Once the transform has been created, let's assign this in the seek task, using the inspector to the target field. The way that this example is created is that the behavior runs once. Once the orc has seen and pursued the player, it becomes idle. We want it to continue to evaluate the graph, looking for targets or threats. The way that we will do this is by adding a repeater decorator. From the Tasks tab, there are a multitude of pre-made tasks at your disposal. We are going to use the search bar to search for the repeater and select it to add it to the diagram. The repeater will repeat logic in its children for a specified number of times or forever. We want the entire graph to repeat, so we will add the repeater between the entry and the sequence task. We will select it and view its inspector so that we can toggle it to repeat forever. Now let's press play. We can see that we get our desired result, and in the behaviour tree that the logic is repeating as expected. In this example, we can see that Behaviour Designer can be used to easily craft AI suitable for many game scenarios using an intuitive visual workflow. Behaviour Designer is available now on the Unity Asset Store. To learn more, please click the link below.